Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid. You see that? I broke out my crayon. We're going to get to that. And I didn't break it out for a neighbor or a former employer. I broke it out for me. And you guys kind of let me know, hey, I needed the crayon for myself. But I wanted to wish you a good morning. I wanted to point out, sometimes these videos don't get uploaded until mid-afternoon, even though I'm up here at 6:34 this morning, appreciating long sunrises today, not complaining and being upset because the sun is taking so long to come up. Scott, I'm not taking a shot at the sun this morning. I'm appreciating the sun, and it's behind the clouds, and I'm thankful for that because that means it won't be too hot today. And I am going to get out here and do some of this backed up homesteading stuff today that I'm thankful is backed up. Gosh, don't I just sound like a different person today? I think I do, and I have you to thank. If you watched the morning ramble yesterday, which I went back and watched again upon the advice of some of you folks, and wow, here I thought, I left a situation I was in to get into a better situation, and it looks like there for a little while I was kind of choosing not to move forward into a better situation, and you folks pointed that out to me, and I appreciate it. We uploaded that video yesterday, and I'll put it on the end of this one in case you missed it. And I guess I didn't realize I was sharing my experiences like I always do in these morning rambles. And somebody pointed out, hey, I thought this was a homesteading channel. Go do something homesteading. We do that. And another subscriber pointed out that we've been doing 2 videos a day for about the last month or so when I was going into work at my former job much later than I had been in the last few days since I no longer work there. And we're going to try to bump it up to 2 or 3 as long as it doesn't become spammy, because that's trashy and we don't want to do that. But as long as we can do the morning ramble, and my wife, and thank you, by the way, my wife is enjoying the feedback from her cooking videos. She is an excellent cook. I love what she cooks. I don't know how I'm not kind of bigger than I am. Well, I do know. I mean, for the last 6 months, I've been walking up to 12 miles a day with that job I had. And going forward, I'm going to get back into jogging and running again here once I get a little more rested up. That's been a part of my life for more than 30 years. So I guess that's how I can eat all that yummy food she makes and stay active and be out here doing stuff on the homestead, and I don't have to worry about the weight. But she's a wonderful cook, and thank you guys for really responding very well to her recipes. So we're going to do that, and then the goal is to have that 3rd video a day, just kind of showing where we're doing something homesteady-ish as a family. So that's what we're kind of looking at going forward now that we have the time to do that. But these morning rambles, they're going to continue. So if this isn't your thing, go check out our other videos. And I'm telling you, if you like to cook, if you like to eat, you've got to watch my beautiful wife's delicious recipes. She made sometimes I can't pronounce a lot of these things. Tortang talong yesterday. It's an eggplant dish fried in like an egg omelet, and it's absolutely wonderful. And we had that with some baked ribs she made yesterday. I wanted her to show how she baked these ribs, but she's like, no, I've been cooking all these ribs lately. But it's all different recipes. I mean, she must know hundreds of recipes for just ribs. So anyway, we uploaded the video yesterday. It came out late, like 3:30 in the afternoon, about the morning ramble. We were having technical difficulties, but it finally came up. I gave it a few minutes. I went back, started reading through some of the comments. And guys, if we don't get to you with a shout out or a reply to the comment, it's nothing intentional. I know we used to do that more than we have been lately, but that's because we're getting literally thousands of comments a day, and we simply can't respond to them all. It's never anything personal, and I don't want anybody out there to think that. But we read them enough, and a lot of you have been commenting enough. We recognize our regular subscribers when we see them, and we thank you for being here, and we thank all the new subscribers. But yesterday I was reading the comments, and I wasn't looking to see who wrote them. I was just reading, and my first thought was, wow, where'd all these trolls come from? Because they're saying that I shouldn't have, they're saying something about my attitude and how it sounds like I'm being negative and all these things. And I kind of got upset, and so I walked away from it, and we did our family walk around the homestead yesterday evening, and we came up here And I got some things done yesterday. I mowed. Check this out. Here's our campsite. I mowed the trail, and I mowed the main portion of our yard. And we sat up here, and Daniel, our son, he put on a little play for us. He's obsessed with Spider-Man. He loves Spider-Man. And so Dearly and I sat here, and we were watching him acting like he was swinging from these invisible webs from bridges and city buildings, and it was beautiful. And so we're doing our walk, and I say to Dearly, I'm like, where did all these trolls come from? And she looked at me and she said, they're not trolls. I said, well, yeah, they are. Look at what they're saying. And she said, these are some of our regular subscribers, like Mona Love, and I hope I'm not getting this wrong, nesting birds and eggs are in there. Mark Neff, who comments a lot, so many of you, and I'm not intentionally missing anybody, but there was a thread where these people were going back and forth, you guys. But I didn't realize necessarily that it was people who are here regularly. And then it occurred to me, and this is what I'm talking about up here all the time, the 1 out of 10 people who we really need to keep close to us, because they're not the ones who tell us what we want to hear. These are the people who tell us what we need to hear. And my wife pointed that out to me. And so we went back inside, I diffused a little bit, and this is when I went back and watched the video again, or parts of it, because somebody commented, did you see when you said this? And so I went back and I watched, and I thought, wow, these people are right. So what was going on here is it occurred to me, you know, and just 2 days ago I was talking about how it's our choice to have a dystopia or a utopia, and it's really based upon how we're viewing our realities and how we're making it. And here I was not practicing what I preached. I was choosing a dystopia. I'd left a job I wasn't happy with. And guys, I'm going to talk about that job from time to time. I had wonderful experiences there, and I worked with wonderful people. And we can't just move on to the next chapter in our lives and say, okay, let's take that chapter, rip it out of the book, and throw it away. Otherwise, we don't learn and we don't progress. And there's a lot of beautiful things we bring with us from our past, even the parts of the past that might not have been too bright. You know, Dr. Martin Luther King said, only in darkness can we see the stars. And so it's at times during some of our darkest periods that we see some of the brightest lights. So decided to move forward, and this is where the crayon comes in, and I want to share something with you guys. And I do this off and on, and I don't always write these things down. But a lot of times when we get at a point or in a period where we do what I call stinking thinking. I mean, here I was, yes, I've needed rest. I've needed the physical rest to recover from this job I mentioned in yesterday's video. Yesterday was Sunday. That was the first Sunday in 6 months that I had not worked. So I couldn't just throw myself into all these plans I had here on the homestead. But this is day 4, and I'm going to ease into it today. As soon as I'm done with this and try to upload it, if the internet's working, I'm going to get out here and start pulling out some of these weeds. and I'm grateful that they're there. And I'm going to just get right to this. One of the best ways to avoid being in a place of stinking thinking is to have an attitude of gratitude. And it doesn't always come easy. Sometimes it comes very hard. It's something we have to continually work at. And we might work on this attitude of gratitude over and over and get to where it's coming like breathing. It's just something that comes natural. But if we get away from it, it doesn't come so natural anymore. You know, I used the example of running the other day because I have a running past. I used to be a runner, and so I understand it a little bit. You know, once upon a time, I ran 2 miles in 9 minutes and 56 seconds. That's pretty fast. That's flat out getting it. Today, I don't think I could run 2 miles without being able to stop. Even though I've been walking up to 12 miles a day for quite a while, running and walking are 2 entirely different activities. But now, if I eased back into running, of course I'd be able to run 2 miles without stopping, and it wouldn't take me that long because of my background. I think that, well, I know that the days of sub 10-minute 2 miles are over. I mean, I'm in my mid-40s now. But at any rate, there's something I used to do that I did this morning, again, for the first time in a little while, that I'm going to share with you, and it involved my crayon. You don't have to use a crayon. You just know I'm, you know, there for a while. After that crayon in the neighbor video went viral, I was walking. I'd just be out, and I had a couple people ask me if I was the crayon guy from YouTube. So I guess this is my thing now. But you can use a pen. You can use a pencil. And but it has to do with a list. and you guys, many of you watching this have seen these lists before. It's called a gratitude list, and here's one I made this morning. Now, it's easy at first, but the more regularly you do this, the more challenging it gets. The key here is early in the morning, catch yourself. And obviously yesterday I was sitting there reminiscing about the past 6 months. It was my first Sunday off in 6 months, so I was thinking about a lot of the past Sundays, and then I remembered this guy mowing his grass who was a little rude to me, and guys, you could tell where my heart was yesterday because of the words I spoke. And another subscriber pointed that out. She used that analogy of, you want to know where a man's heart lies, listen to his words. And yesterday my heart was kind of in a bitter, resentful place because I said some things that I said I could have said to this guy, but which I didn't. But obviously I was thinking these things, so it's not as bad, but it's kind of getting close, isn't it? So this came from sitting there yesterday, kind of stewing, thinking about the more negative experiences I had instead of more the positive. So this morning I decided not to go to that place. And again, I thank you folks who commented about that stuff because you pointed out the direction I was heading, and that's not why I left that place and came here. I came here for the utopia, but I was heading in the wrong direction. So this morning I started my day by making a gratitude list. I wrote down 5 things for which I'm grateful, and this is not in any particular order, but I'm going to share some of these with you to kind of show you how this is done. It's really easy. But I remember Scott said, look, you even took a shot at the sun, because I was complaining about waiting for the sun to come up because I get up so early. I got up at 4:54 this morning, 4:50 yesterday, and I blame my cat for that because Cleopatra was meowing beside my bed where I sleep, and I was angry at the cat. Well, this morning I woke up at 4:45 and it wasn't her fault. She wasn't there. I just get up early. I didn't have to blame her yesterday. I would have been up within 10 minutes anyway, and she knows it. And so she was just, hey, what are you sleeping in? So anyway, number 1 on my gratitude list today, I'm thankful for long sunrises because I love sunrises. And when they're long, that means I get to enjoy it longer. Okay, I'm thankful that in the last 4 days or so, I hadn't gotten to a lot of this homesteading work, these chores, because I have it there for me to do. And I mean, I made a video about 10 days ago, titled something along the lines of, I hate my job, it makes me miserable, and I have big plans for the homestead or something. I don't know. Gosh, I was just so anxious to get out of there. But now here I am, full-time homesteader, and now these big plans, I get to pursue them. So I'm thankful this work backed up. I'm going to be thankful for every weed I pulled today that should have been pulled 2 weeks ago. And I'm going to be thankful because, guys, and a lot of you out there, you have gardens, you do the homesteading thing. That's what brought you here. We know that dirt therapy, what I call dirt therapy, is really one of the best forms of therapy there is. We're out there, we're pulling the weeds, we're working in the dirt, we're getting some exercise, we get our heart rates up, we get a little bit of a sweat going. And the thoughts just automatically become positive. So I'm thankful that I'm going to be in that situation today. This is number 3, but obviously this is number 1 really on my list. Family, health. I have a wonderful family. We're healthy. Our basic needs are met. And this wasn't always the case. I've shared a little bit about our experiences and our time spent in the Philippines. There were times when we didn't know when our next meal was going to be or where it was coming from. And that was scary. That was terrifying. We don't have those fears today because our kitchen, our pantry, our cupboards is full of food. Our gardens, we have 2, though overgrown with weeds they are still filled with food. And let's just be frank, guys. We're in the U.S. now. If things really got really bad, there's help out there we could get. It's not like that in most of the world, and it wasn't like that for us in the Philippines. But I put that as number 3 because part of this, what you want to do if you do this daily, the way it was explained to me, is you want to make sure not to repeat, because it's just too easy to come out here and write down the same 5 things every day. And of course you're going to want to write, and I don't always write this list, but I'll often sit there and say it like a prayer. And I'm thankful for family, health, food. I say that every day, but if you're writing it down, you want to do 5 different things every day, 5 unique things. And this is to challenge ourselves. It's too easy to repeat every day, so let's come up with something new every day. And that shows us the litany of things we have to be thankful for. each and every day. And sometimes we really have to work to look to see things that we might be overlooking that really are worthy of seeing and being thankful for. So, and number 4, and this is where you guys came in with a lot of the comments you were making yesterday, but it's not just my willingness to turn the page on that last chapter of life and move on to the next one, but I'm thankful for all the wonderful people like you folks who pointed out to me that, hey, it's time to turn that page. And I replied to one of the comments yesterday thus. I said, yes, it's time to turn the page. I'm ready to turn the page. Thank you for helping me turn this page, because sometimes we all need someone to kind of, we might have our fingers on the page, but we're just not turning it. And somebody comes along and helps us by reaching down and grabbing our fingers and helping us turn that page. So I got a lot of help yesterday. Guys, I was not insulted. At first, I guess I was, and this is why. Nobody was mean. When you guys were pointing out, hey, it's time to get past this, nobody did it in a mean way. And there's a difference. If somebody would have said, oh, you sound like a big sissy, you're a wimp, are you going to keep crying, all these things, that's kind of mean. But it wasn't said that way. It was said, hey, Kevin, we understand where you're coming from, but isn't what you're doing now kind of to get past this? Isn't it time? You see the difference? And this moves me into number 5. And there's going to be several thoughts here, but isn't this a ramble? Yes, it is. And I'm thankful for social media when done correctly, okay? And the way you folks commented on yesterday's video and the way you reached out through space and time in social media and helped me grab that page to which I was clinging but refused to turn, and helped me turn that page, it's a beautiful thing. Now I'm going to say something here. I'm just going to say it, and this is my views. And yeah, I'm going to sound crazy, but I think we've already established that point. Again, they call me Crazy Lake in the Army, is probably for a pretty good reason. But we've heard throughout the eons of time, what is the solution for world poverty? What is the solution for world peace? What are the solutions for all these big, great, grand things for which thus far in the year of our Lord 2018, there has seemed to have been no solutions? Guys, I think the solution to all these problems and all these unpleasant facts of life, if we allow it to be, honestly, is social media. When used correctly, when used properly. Now let me talk about that for a second. I've mentioned before in other videos that my wife and I have been involved in social media for about 8 years, and many of you have. I mean, since the advent. I think Facebook came out in 2004, and I think YouTube's actually older. But it's given people who before didn't have a voice. It's given people who didn't have a platform. It's uncovered many things. I could go in so many details, but I won't, because I want to be a little specific here. And again, not promoting it, not plugging it, but the book I wrote last year called The Box, which was a failure big time as far as sales went, and that kind of put me in the position where I had to get a real job for the first time in many years. But I wrote it anyway because it was a story I wanted to tell, and there were some points I wanted to make. And these points, and a lot of times I've done this successfully in the past through paranormal, suspense, thriller. The Box ended up being a romance novel because that's just the direction the story went. It's how the story wanted to be told, and I think it was told beautifully. It wasn't received very well, but I believe I said what I wanted to say the way I wanted to say it. And so it's like going back to Howard Rourke in The Fountainhead, Ayn Rand work. He was in the quarry busting rocks, but not because he had failed as a building designer, but because he continued to succeed by designing the buildings the way he wanted to do it. And when it didn't pan out financially or whatever, he busted rocks because he was going to do his work his way, and that's what I did with The Box. But anyway, and I don't want to give too much of this away, but the main characters in there, they use YouTube actually to pursue their passion and kind of become successful, and they're able to walk away. It's crazy. It's almost like I told my own story a year before it happened. But they were able to walk away from being miserable by pursuing not their passion, but the path that society says, okay, this is what you should do. You know, the young girl in the story, you're just out of college, she graduated from UVA, you got a business degree, you need to go do this. But she loved to sing, and she wanted to pursue music. And the other guy, Devin, who, you know, she would meet, they got together, and he was passionate about music, even though he was really good at writing. And people often ask writers, is this book about you? No, it's not. But you often will use part of yourself in many of your characters. It just happens that way. But and then they harness social media to go on and do great things, which mostly is pursuing their passion, so they don't have to do the things they don't enjoy doing. But you know, I lived in the Philippines. I've talked about the Philippines. My wife is Filipino. Let's take a look at a singer named Arnel Padilla. Who's that? A lot of you know. Well, you know the band Journey, right? Been around since the 70s. Original lead singer Steve Perry, who would go on to leave the band, but the band wanted to continue to make music. To my understanding, from what I know and watching videos on YouTube and interviews, Steve didn't really want to do what the band wanted to do. They wanted to keep making music, keep playing music, and Steve was kind of, he had some health issues or whatnot. But the band, they needed a new front man. They loved their sound, they loved their original sound, and they wanted somebody that sounded like Steve Perry, because they didn't want to change what they'd created. So they went to YouTube, they went to social media, and they found this guy named Arnel Padilla singing in nightclubs in Manila, the capital of the Philippines. And if you've not heard this guy, if you've not heard Journey with the new lead singer, and well, I say new, he's been there like 10 years, after you watch this video, do a search and find him. Go find the story about how Journey found Arnel Padilla. It's a beautiful story. They heard him in a video and they said, that's the guy. You know, and here's Journey, an American band, a Caucasian band, and here's this singer in Manila, a Filipino, Asian, and none of that mattered. And this is why social media is such a beautiful thing. It's showing the beauty of really who we are and what we are, not what category we fall into. And this is when it's used correctly. And so they got in a plane, they flew half a world away, 12 hours ahead of East Coast time. I mean, the Philippines is literally on the other side of the world. You know, it takes the sun 24 hours a day for the Earth to rotate like this and have a day. It's 12 hours away. It is literally on the other side of the world. They go over there, they find him singing in these nightclubs, and boom, he's the new lead singer for Foreigner. Or I mean, not Foreigner, but Journey. Is this not evidence that social media can end world poverty? I mean, I don't know enough about Arnel Padilla to know what his specific circumstances were before this. Maybe he was doing really well. He probably was doing really well by Filipino standards, as in what was the income he was making based upon the average income there. That's what I mean by that. He was probably doing pretty good, but he wasn't doing nearly as good as he is now as a lead singer for Journey. But people have commented when I've made videos about believing in yourself, you know, what's the difference between people who are successful and people who are not? One of the things I think is the people who are successful are getting up at 4 and 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning, and if they're not in a position yet to where they are pursuing their passions as a livelihood, they sure are working on getting there. They're not waiting for someone to do it for them. They're not hoping to meet the right person so they can get to where they are through connections and contacts. And I've had people comment in the comments that that's what it's all about. It's who you know. I've never believed that, and I never will. Arnel Padilla was out there every night singing in some of these clubs in the Philippines, and I used to go to a lot of these places when I lived there, and they're different than what we have over here. And he's going into these places and he's working hard every night, and he's obviously working hard every day. The guy was probably going on very little sleep, and he was pursuing his passion, and social media made his dream become a reality. And so I'm thankful I have this. And that's why, and guys, I think it's pretty easy to tell what a lot of my thoughts and beliefs and all these things are, but I don't pick teams. I don't pinpoint. I don't come out and say this is what side I'm on. And this is because I don't want to alienate people who might not be on the same team as me as far as a religion goes or political party goes or any of these things, because when we pick teams, we kind of start detracting from the beauty of what we have here, which is social media done correctly, which is focusing on the things, our commonalities, the things we do have in common, our shared beliefs, because this is where we all grow. And once we start alienating people for superficial reasons, the growth stops. And we saw that on other platforms. We saw it on Facebook, and we're not going to do it here. We do not want to do that here. Some of the people who helped me yesterday with the comments who said, you know, you really need to turn the page, they might not have voted for the same person I did in the last election. I don't care about that, because these people reached through space and time and social media yesterday and said, Kevin, you need a little help turning the page. I'm here to help you. And they helped me. And so today, I'm not sitting here taking shots at the sun because it's taking so long to come up. I'm sitting here being ever grateful for the fact that it's taking that sun a long time to come up, because I love sunrises. You see the difference? And if I had alienated this person because 10% of his or her persona was different than mine, or 10% of their personality, their belief system was different than mine, I would have missed the 90% of the commonalities, which are beautiful things that helped me realize I needed to break my crayon back out today, and I needed to break it out for myself. So guys, I sincerely thank each and every single one of you who are here for being here. And that's my morning ramble for today. Now I'm going to get down there and I'm going to pull weeds, and I'm going to be grateful for every weed I pull. My wife will be awake soon. She's probably down there waiting on me to come make her coffee. And I'm always thankful for the time I spend with her and snuggling with my son. And we're going to do some things around the homestead today, and we're going to get some of it on video for you. And somebody commented, you know, go into town. If you don't want to get into doing a lot of this work that's piled up on you, go take your walk around Charlottesville. Go take your walk. I hear the deer back there. Go take your walk around UVA, and you know, maybe we'll do that today. And if we do, we're going to get some of that, and we're going to share that with you. It's a beautiful campus, beautiful town, and we want to share that with those of you who, you know, a woman was commenting who worked on Sunday in a like a health food, maybe it was a Whole Food store from Portland, Oregon yesterday. She's thousands of miles away from the campus of the University of Virginia, so we want to show her that. So anyway, that's it for the day. I'm going to give you the parting shot of the homestead. I hope this helped some of you. I know you guys helped me. Helped me big time. Thank you for that, and thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time from Homesteading Off the Grid.